Well, good morning, everyone. We are right at 9:30 here on the East Coast. This is our first webinar of the year, so I will say Happy New Year as we are at January 15. I know this is getting to the edge of the time it's still acceptable to do that. So that's probably the last time I say that this year. But thank you for joining us either here live or on demand. You can submit questions if you are here live, raise your hand in the Q&A box. I've got my screen shared to a one-page handout of the topics that we're going to be discussing today. Today, I'm calling it Elevating the Client Experience from Lead to Loyalty. When I talk about client experience, we do it a little bit different here at AccomplishedRE. We start from lead generation, go all the way to the client fulfillment piece. So it's not just clients are already signed with you, it's how do you get those leads into the door? How do you generate leads? How do you keep new business coming in? So it's a fairly big topic. I think we'll probably go around 20 to 30 minutes today. A quick warning up top, I did get some feedback from a recent video. Give me a hard time for reading from a script. Basically, it's like, if you really know this stuff and believe in it, why do you need a script? Well, I'll tell you, once this record light goes on, I tend to draw blanks as I am right there. And it's always tough for me to get across what I want to say. So I like to script this stuff out, not so I can just rely on it, but I know that it's there and it helps give me cues. So sometimes I don't get to edit it as much as I want. It sounds a little more scripted, but please bear with me. I have my notes. I will jump back and forth between the one-page handout and any questions that come in. But like I said, we're talking about leads to loyalty, client experience. So, real estate, it just isn't about houses. It's about people. So the agents generally who are dominating their markets are the ones that aren't just chasing deals. They're delivering unforgettable client experience, and they've got people looking to work with them. It's kind of a two-way street. So start thinking about ways how you stand out, how that's communicated, and how your clients, potential clients, hear about that. We'll talk about the three pillars of this journey: generation, conversion, and fulfillment. We're going to break generation down into three other chunks. That's the way to think about it. How do I get people to know about me? How do those people who know about me know what I do? How do they work with me, convert them into clients when the time is right, or when that potential sale comes through? We'll do I think the examples we use today will kind of focus on listings. And then lastly, once they become a client, what am I doing for them? And those are specific, what I call client journeys, getting them from A to Z. I'll say this a couple times, but thinking about that listing, going from that initial appointment, getting the listing agreement signed, to getting to the closing table, getting the property sold. How do you go from A to Z? And what you want to do is have that entire journey mapped out. And we'll get there at the end. So today's session, we're going to focus on the client experience at every stage, as we talked about before, during, and after the transaction. Remember, we're not just chunking it to our clients. We're starting with lead generation and how it can transform these leads, people who don't yet know us, into those loyal clients that keep coming back, referral partners, people who make introductions for us. Because as we'll talk about with these loyal clients and people who are excited to tell others about what you do, it makes that process a lot easier, along with things like social proof, where people are nervous to be the first one to do business with you, or they don't want to look bad. So if they know these 100 people work with you, then they know they're 101. They're not number one. And they know if their friend, their family, their spouse referred you, they've got somebody else in that boat with them. They are not scared about making that mistake. It's like, well, didn't you know this person was terrible? Well, didn't you do your diligence type thing? So we're going to explore some real life strategies, some tactics that help for each of these. And I, again, will try to make this quick, fast paced, and answer any questions that come in. So please use that feature as well. So starting with lead generation, attracting the right clients. So lead generation isn't about casting the widest net. Some business models will tell you that that's not what we're looking to do here. It's about attracting the right people, the ones you want to work with. Because if you are getting people to contact you, or you're reaching out to people you don't want to work with, or that drain you of energy, there's a shelf life there. You're going to hit a wall, and it is not going to provide you the business or the the clients that you want to work with. So look to the ones who are most likely to value what you bring to the table, whether that's a geographic area, whether it's a market segment, you're in luxury homes, luxury buyers and sellers, so forth. So let's start with a quick story about an agent I'd worked with a few years back. We'll call her Sarah. Sarah was frustrated because she was getting plenty of leads, but they weren't turning into clients. So we'll talk about that more in conversion. But why for Sarah, she was chasing every lead without a clear strategy. So here's where we need to know what we're going to do once we have a lead engaged, or how we get people to know about us. When we work together, we help refine our messaging to focus on her UVP, her value proposition, why people should care about what she does, who she works with, and so forth. Um, so I know in our previous webinars and a lot of the content in our community has centered on getting that mission correctly communicated, who you are, what you offer, your vision to your core clients. So they know when they need you, why you're a good fit for them. And the second piece, that the organizational alignment, making sure that communication is um, uniform, aligned wherever they're hearing it, from your brokerage to your office to your admin, through your marketing, so forth. So when those things are correct, it makes this lead generation a little bit easier, because there's that foundation that's built. Oh yeah, I saw your social post, I saw you on Instagram, or I know your LinkedIn, I know your TikTok, whatever it is. So when you have that foundation built, you're targeting your core clients, you're already a step ahead, as opposed to that just wide net. I'll work with anybody interested in buying and selling. It's not going to get you the long-term business that you're looking for. So ways to improve your lead generation, I've got these three listed here. Creating a lead magnet, offering something of value, a valuation, a moving to guide, something that goes into why you are going to make their life easier. You are their guide, you are their support. They're looking to bring you in to make their life easier, to get the transaction done, get it done better, faster, at a better price point. Whatever it is, whatever value you offer, make sure that's clearly communicated and clear to them how you help them remove a problem, solve an issue. That's how you get the right clients. Again, leveraging social proof. This is important. People don't want to be the first one to work with you. If they do, sometimes you position yourself as, you are my new client. My experience will help me get you to that finish line. Since you are my first, one of my two or three only clients, you're going to have my undivided attention. So that's one way to counterbalance that. Otherwise, people want to know you've done this before. They've done it with people like them, that you've solved problems like they have. And then consistency. This does not mean that you post every day at 4 p.m. or anything like that, that you only do videos. It's consistency in your messaging, consistency in what you say. Yes, it's important to have regular social posts. Yes, it's important to have, if it's mailers, if it's follow-up. It's just setting an expectation of what you're going to deliver, what you're going to do. When you have that, and doing it regularly, doing it consistently, and in a tone, in a messaging that is consistent. You don't want to have, the example I like to give is positioning yourself as a luxury listing agent, and then when someone goes to do some homework or some diligence, they find you work at a discount brokerage. There's that disconnect there. You're positioning yourself as somebody who sells high-end property, but the main page on your brokerage, your landing page, talks about how it's a discount brokerage, and you look to cut costs, and you don't spend money on marketing, you don't spend money on XYZ, you don't spend money on staging or photos. So somebody who's looking for a luxury listing agent is probably going to want those things. So you got to make sure that they're aligned and they're not sending mixed messages. So I got this question here. What's one area of your lead generation strategy that could benefit from focusing more on the client needs instead of chasing volume? So drilling down, thinking back, who you've worked with, who you've liked to work with, how you can get more of that client avatar, both contacting you, and that's how your direct outreach, your lead generation can focus. The next thing I want to hit on is the three pieces of lead generation. And I have them here: more on lead generation, connection, providing value, and the ask or call to action. So what you want to think about is, within lead generation, there's three pieces to it. You can't start with the ask. You'll see some agents out there who will simply ask, "Are you interested in buying or selling a property today?" They jump right to that ask piece. Um, Somebody will say yes, but the chances of that person both being ready to buy or sell a property the first time you connect with them when you ask them that, and then being a core client or somebody you want to work with are very slim, if at all above zero. So here's where the other two steps come in. The first is the connection piece. Uh, you need to connect with them. And that means different things. That means you might play basketball with them after work. You might be involved with them in a local nonprofit. You might be on the PTA board. You might coach sports. You might know them through work. You might know them from prior work. They might know a family member of yours. Whatever the connection is, they may connect with you online. The connection, how A to B, how do you know each other? If you don't know each other, how can you get to know them? So I gave a few examples of extracurricular activities, volunteering, through work, through prior jobs you had, through your referral network, through your sphere. There's plenty of ways to connect. I'm happy to drill down and give more specific examples or one-offs, but I think people understand connecting. Provide, and there's no necessarily set time for each of these. This can be quick. You can meet somebody, connect with them, provide something of value, and have an ask all within 5 minutes. That's okay. It might also take 5 years from the time that you connect with them to the time they do business with you. So there is no set timeline here, but there are these three phases you want to think of. There's the connection. We've connected. We know each other. You are aware of me. You know what I do. Do you need my services? Do you know someone who needs my services? Are you open to referring my services? And they'll do that by you providing value. Might be you giving them information, might be you answering questions, might be you picking up the phone. Using the coaching kids sports example, are you on time for every single practice? Do you have a structured practice that you put the kids through? I've noticed that you run this team. You're here every day at 4 o'clock. You must know how to manage your time because I can't seem to get my work done and get here on time. You're great with the kids. You have their attention for an hour. You have great attention to detail. What do you do? Oh, I help people buy and sell property. I am a real estate specialist who focuses on XYZ in this community. Oh, wow. You've demonstrated what a responsible person you are in using this coaching example. But all of your emails are on time. There's directions to the games. You're very thorough. I'm thinking about listing my property. Can I see you? Or are you interested in coming by this weekend to tell me what it's worth or what my next steps are? So there's the connection piece, providing value, and then the ask or the call to action. So you want to think of it in those three terms when you're just talking about lead generation, which is the first of the three areas of client experience. So lead generation, how do we get more people to know what we do? The three pieces there. We connect with them. We tell them. We do it in our daily life. We do it online. We do it through others, whether it's somebody, and this is very powerful. If somebody else is touting how great you are, what you do, referring you, making introductions for you, this is a great way to build that trust. And again, when I talk about having that social proof or not having your client be the first one or the only one to do business with you, they've had somebody they already trust make that introduction. So that you've already skipped past the connection piece and you're right to the add value. Add value. That means something different generally for each of your buckets of core clients. You got some people who might be really impressed with the property CMA. You send them, hey, here's a evaluation of your property. Other people say, I get 2 of these in the mail every week. This is worthless to me. So that value means what is valuable or has something in there that will help them out. And then the ask is generally you're going to be the one making the ask, but they might, giving the example I gave earlier, they might ask, say, hey, I was thinking about selling my property. We have this relationship. You've demonstrated, you've told me, you've helped me, you provided that value. Can you come by and give me a home valuation or tell me what you recommend as far as next steps? So high level there, lead generation, connection, providing value, and the ask or the call to action. All right, so they've been asked call to action. Are you interested in listing your property? Now this one is The most difficult one to talk about, but generally the one people get or understand the most, lead conversion. So it's building trust and ideally doing so quickly. So, you've got this bucket of leads, and that's all good and fine. But leads don't mean anything unless they trust you, which you built that value, you built that trust. And now it's the trust is what builds that bridge for lead conversion. I once had a colleague who was a phenomenal uh, lead getter, but his conversion rate was so low because, again, it was the wide net, just reach out there, I'll talk to anybody. And then the other two pieces of that fell off. There wasn't that value that was given. There wasn't necessarily when the time was right, the ability to ask because he was too focused on selling. When he shifted to asking better questions and truly understanding what those leads wanted, those leads became clients. He understood their needs, and he only started closing more deals. Uh, I'm sorry, not only started closing more deals, but also got more referrals from those clients. Again, opening more doors because they were open to talking about their experience working with them. So some tactics to boost conversion: asking the right questions. So instead of pushing information on them, and this is going back to adding value. Adding value does not just mean here's everything I know. Let me tell you everything I know. Generally, nobody wants to hear that. You think about when you meet somebody new outside of real estate or outside of lead generation. If you just go up and start talking about yourself or just have an information dump on them, they're going to try to get out of that conversation as quickly as possible. So ask questions, learn about them, learn what's of interest, and do this for you too. Make sure that they are somebody that you want to work with. You might ask questions and their answers might scare you. It's like, I thought this was a good fit, or you seem like somebody who I should want to do business with. But after your answer to these questions, that is not the case. I'm moving on. And when you have your business to a point where you want it to be, you can be selective or more selective in who your clients are. When you ask those right questions, you have a better understanding of their goals, where they are, where they want to go, and you can tailor the process to them. Personalizing your follow-up. So this is important. When we talk about not having a wide net, this does not mean that you're reaching out to people you don't necessarily know yet, have a relationship with. So cold outreach, cold email, there's plenty of content there, and I'm happy to go into that. But making sure that your outreach is tailored, and it doesn't need to be, hey Joe, I know you've lived at 7 Main Street for the last 10 years. You've got three, they're not, that's not what it is. But you also don't want, hey name, or something that the recipient clearly knows this was just a wide spray and I'm hoping for the best. The spray and pray method. So that's not what you want. And again, the social credibility. You want people vouching for you in real life and online, saying, I've done business with Mike. Mike is great. You should do business with them too. This is one of the most powerful things, just based on people not wanting to look stupid, not wanting, being fearful of working with someone or spending their resources, their time, their money somewhere where they shouldn't. So doing this right, demonstrating it to others is powerful, and then having others vouch for you, whether it's in real life or online, through testimonials, through case studies, it'll do wonders for generating leads and then converting those leads into clients. So think, what's one small tweak that you can make to follow your process this week to build more trust? All right, we do have a question here. Let me just open this up. Okay. Okay, so yes, I mentioned this earlier. The question is, am I always asking for business, or can I have my lead generation set up where there's inbound leads? So yeah, the ask basically just refers to the third piece of lead generation. So you have a connection with someone, some group of people that you have demonstrated your value or why you are valuable to them or to that group. And then there's an ask, and it can go either way. It can be you asking, are you now, I know you own 2 Main Street. We've talked about it in the past. Is this a property you're looking to sell now? You've mentioned you're looking to move to this neighborhood. Would you sign a buyer's agreement with me? And we'll start looking at some property that matches everything that you've told me to date. Or if done properly, you will see that People are going to just using the example I gave earlier that, hey, I know you from XYZ. We work together, we volunteer together on this nonprofit board. I'm thinking about selling my home. Can you come by and give me your thoughts? So yeah, the ask can go both ways. Generally, if you're a newer agent or you're looking to build your business, you're probably going to do more of the asking. Once you have the infrastructure built, you will see that some of the asks will be for inquiries coming inbound, so you don't have to. You have those warm inbound is better than always on the cold outbound, but it's generally going to be outbound. And once you have a more, um, you have a more defined or a track record that you can have on display, have more introductions that are being made from you for others, you'll see that ask are coming in inbound as well. Good question. So we talked about lead generation. We talked a little about the conversion. Really, the big thing I want to hit on with conversion is that while there are plenty of things online, there are plenty of sales techniques that you can go through to convert a lead to a client. This is not what this talk is meant to do, is to teach you how to close. Um, Personalizing it both for things that you're comfortable with, making it natural to your personality, natural to the services you're providing, and then to hammer this home, geared to your core client, to the person that's in front of you, personalizing it to them. So it's personal to you where it matches your personality, it makes you comfortable in what you're delivering, and it is geared to your recipient. It is not just a one size fits all. It is not just here's how you close deals. It's not always this. It's not always that. It's generally going to be if this happens and that. It's a lot of good questions, a lot of listening, and a lot of options. So as we're going to get into client fulfillment here, and we talk about maps and journeys, what you want to do for each of these is to have a framework or a rough blueprint. Here is all of the things that I want to accomplish, or here are the guardrails of the things I want to do with decision points in between. So, based on if I find this out about my client, or I know this, or about this lead, here's what I want to do. And the easiest way to do that is to ask good questions, listen, and then to update your strategy or move your process forward. So, talking about that with client fulfillment, I think will really hammer that point home. So, what separates good or average agents from high performers, highly referred agents, is the ability to fulfill clients' needs. It does not stop once they sign that listing agreement with you. You not only need to sell the home, you need to provide them what you've told them for whatever days, months, years that you were going to provide. So it's client fulfillment is where you create lifelong advocates. If you do this right, you'll have repeat clients, you'll have referrals, and more importantly, you'll have happy clients who are going to make introductions for you. They're going to open more doors for you. Um, in the past, I worked with a guy who was really good at this, that repeat business referral was his thing. His secret was he never disappeared after the closing. And sometimes agents disappear before the closing, but he knew that this was um, a never-ending process. That he would send home maintenance tips, client appreciation events, always available for questions, insight, made introductions to mortgage folks, to home care professionals, lawn care, anything like that that he knew you needed in your home. He was always a resource, and people don't forget those kind of things. It's not. I can't tell you how many times I'll talk to somebody. It's like, what do you do post close to stay in front of your prior clients? I send an annual calendar that people put as a refrigerator magnet. Um, and yes, people look at that all the time if they keep it, but they probably are not going to associate that with anything more than the sports team schedule or the actual calendar on their refrigerator. They might see your picture, they might remember something from the transaction, but you want to go above and beyond that. So the way I like to structure client fulfillment with any of the agents that I work with is thinking of a journey or a map, the A to Z. And what we talked about up front, the listing example, from And you can even start it before the listing appointment. What you do, and this is for you, your client is not your person who's selling the property is not necessarily going to care what you do to do the research. You want to build that in for yourself so you show prepared and ready to go. But you want to demonstrate that showing up to your listing appointment is not the first time you thought about this property. It is not the first time you thought about marketing this property. It is not the first time you thought about how you were going to resolve an issue for them. You show up there with a strategy, with your digital portfolio that you're going to show them of how you're going to get the property sold, whether that top dollar, if that's what they're looking for, in the quickest amount of time. Generally, they want both, so you're going to tell them how that's done. So you're going to do your homework before. But your client journey is going to take them from that listing appointment all the way through the property closing when the property is sold. And then good fulfillment doesn't stop there. You're going to keep them in your sphere going forward. You're going to keep them in your CRM. You're going to keep them on top of your contact list, whatever it is, because you want them to make referrals. But as far as client fulfillment, we want to look at that map. How do we get them from listing appointment to closing? And what I suggest you do today is just write that down. Take 10 minutes, take 15 minutes, and write down everything that happens between listing appointment and closing. Everything. You don't need to be down to the hour type thing, or during a home inspection, this is all of the things that the home inspection look at. No, the home inspection's on that list. But from listing appointments, getting the property staged, getting the contracts in order, making sure escrow's in order, making sure that there's a way for showings, making sure that it's coordinated of how showings are going to be done. And just taking that all the way to closing. So I'm not going to go through that whole list. If you've watched this far, you know what it takes to sell a home, but have a master list. Understanding that 9.5 out of 10 clients are not going to want to review that master list with you. But there's going to be at least one thing, if not multiple things in that list that are going to be very, very important to them. Just using that example, there might be a family who lives in a house who has 4 kids who in the mornings they're trying to get to school, and the afternoons they've got all the different practices. The weekends they've got more activities. You're trying to do showings with them. They are going to be very concerned about how showings are concerned, what condition their home needs to be in, who's going to be there. Are any good agent will be there to do the showings themselves, and things like that. So that example, that client is going to want to know, okay, if you're going to list my property, what does coordinating showing look like? Using a different example, I own a second property. I am never there. I have held it and I want to sell it. I don't necessarily care how you do the showings. I might ask how they're coordinated, and that's it. But you're not going to be interrupting my dinner. You're not going to be waking me up on a Saturday morning. What I'm more concerned is, how are you going to market my property? Show me what you plan to do to market. It goes back to staging. It goes back to photos. It goes back to, where is this property going to be listed? How are you going to stand out from any other agent who could market this property? So keep in mind that fulfillment should start with that map or journey, and then be tailored to your specific situation. And how do you find out what your specific situation calls for? You ask questions of that client. The 3 examples I have here: surprising delight, keep them top of mind after closing. Gifts, contact, mix it up, be consistent as far as keeping contact, but provide different things. Sometimes it's information, sometimes it's a tangible gift, sometimes it is just a check-in. Staying connected, again, post-sale touch points, and then being a lifelong resource. That value piece that we talked a lot about for lead generation, how you provide them value. You got them into that house. Now they want to know, who is the best person that I take care of landscaping. I've never had oil heat before. What do I do? Who do I contact? I'm looking at going to solar. Who do I know? Or who should I call? How do I know what what I should be doing there? I need a new roof. I need to redo my kitchen. These are all touch points that you can have. If you've got the right relationships, which you should have by being a market expert, you can open these doors. And again, this is a kind of carousel of ways to have doors open for you in the future. So I don't see any other questions. So kind of just wrapping up, attracting leads, converting them to clients, and delivering that exceptional experience, all part of what we talk about at AccomplishedRE as the client experience. It's not a one-time process. It's a cycle that keeps the business going. You can't just say, I'm going to focus on lead generation this quarter and then conversion. And so, no, you got to be doing all three things at once: generating new leads, converting leads, and fulfilling those clients all the time. If your business can't sustain it, it will never be in a predictable place to earn income. You need to have all three things going at once. Um, so choose anything that we talked about today. I strongly suggest the uh, client journey or client map, since you should focus on signing more listings. Do it from the seller's perspective. What do you do when you want to sell a property? From the first time you hear that One Main Street might be interested in selling, what do you do? Write all of it down, high level, and you can go into way more details later. But you want to chunk it down, maybe 5, 10 steps that you're going to walk them through. Here's where we are today. Here's how we're going to get to where you ultimately want to go. And here is the detail. They'll ask you, they'll focus on the things that you need to tell them more about. Obviously, be prepared to do that. Um, so feel free to reach out to me, AccomplishedRE Academy on school. I'm Mike Solitro. AccomplishedRE is my program. We have the school community. We have one-on-one coaching programs, and we also have collaborations at eXp Realty. I appreciate you sticking around to the end. There are no other questions. I will see you next week.